Hey, what's going on, everybody? I just wanted to take the time to talk about Overwatch 2. It came out this past week, and really, beforehand, I wasn't too excited for this game because I just didn't like all the vibes it was giving off with everyone just calling it Overwatch 1 with an update and that, it shouldn't come out in the first place. So I decided to just lock it away, ignore anything that I hear about it, and wait for it to come out because the things that they were saying that they were changing and promising were things that I felt like were deserving of Overwatch 2. Overall, I'm enjoying the time that I've had. I've been able to play some of the quick plays and go into some of the arcades as well as jump into competitive and try out a lot of the heroes and the reworks that have gone with it. Now, playing Overwatch 1 was something that I did a lot of. I mean, I put over 300 hours into competitive alone, but putting myself up there in the diamonds and master rankings. Now, going into this one, I was worried about the new setup with the five setup and having less tanks and then being the meta of how things are going to go into it. And I do have to say that them taking away shields and them making everything a little more aggressive and aggro works really well. It provides a little bit more team play, but also lets you be more engaged and interactive with the game and matches itself. So I think overall, the biggest change to the game, the biggest feel to it, is a big plus and is a big win for the game, and is worth at the very least checking out. So I would recommend it to people who are curious about it. Now, overall, the game is now free. Well, supposedly free. Quotations around it. You, if you got the first Overwatch game, then you immediately get the characters and you don't have to worry about any of that other stuff. And this has been a big controversy because for people who never bought the first Overwatch, or for people who I don't know, lost their accounts or for whatever reason have to start new, there's a lot of grinding that has to go with it. And then there's like these packages that you can buy to unlock characters and things of that nature. And a lot of people are speaking down upon it. And maybe this is an unpopular opinion on my point, but whenever a game like this comes out and it is free, I prefer the method that they have over the loot boxes that they used to do. Loot boxes to me were just not a fair and great way of getting the skins or getting the rewards out of the game, and it was more times than not disappointing. Coming from playing a lot of Riot games like Valorant and League of Legends, I don't mind if I'm getting quality gameplay and just going out and purchasing what I want. So I think, I don't know, I'm okay. I prefer it over the loot boxes, and I understand, there's been people that did the math, and it's like 8 months to be able to get your skin if you never want to pay any money, if you want to get one of the legendary skins, and that's a long time. But of course, the idea is that you are not supposed to get it for free in the first place. And as much as I don't support it and where the balance is, I'm not one to say, but I do know I prefer it over loot boxes. With that being said, I'm probably a little biased because I already have most of the skins. All my stuff has been transferred over. I did buy Overwatch on every, console and on PC. So a little bit of it's kind of just, I kind of already got what I need or what I want from the game. So I can see it not being as engaging for other people who don't even have the heroes unlocked. So that part can be a bit frustrating, and I think they should have just unlocked all the heroes from the start. But I do, even Riot League of Legends doesn't do that, so I can see where they're taking it from. But that's, I can see it from a business point of view, but I don't necessarily agree with it myself. And going on, I did already talk about the new meta a bit. Like I said, it's for the better. I was worried because at the end of Overwatch 1's lifetime, you just saw the constant setup of Orisa shield, Reinhardt shield, and then Bastion setup, maybe you got a Junkrat or someone, a Genji coming in the back line, and then the 2 healers, and that's all you saw, and it would just be a fortress, and it was just, we just have to pierce through this fortress as fast as we can, and then try to take the point. And so this, they've gotten rid of a lot of the shields. They've reworked some of the heroes. Orisa is basically a completely new hero, and for the better. She's probably one of the best tank to play at the moment. And I don't mind them changing characters up. It is a bit disappointing. I was disappointed at first because I did play a lot of Orisa back in Overwatch 1. However, I do like what they did with her now, and I like something I've always enjoyed about Overwatch is them rebalancing things and changing the meta. So I hope that happens. I hope some characters get nerfed. I hope those same characters get Whoa, birthed. I hope they get buffed in the future, even if it's a year or two later down the line. So I like it when things change and scaling gets off and different. And, sometimes one thing might be low tier and the next thing it's high tier. So I'm okay with that kind of stuff. The new heroes that they showed off, one for each role. We got the Junk Queen, which is a tank. We have I'm gonna pronounce this wrong. I'm so sorry. Sojourn, which is a DPS, and then we have Kiriko, which is a new healer. And they're kind of what I'm assuming is the roadmap that they want to take the game. Each one of them represents kind of the overall changes to the new meta that's going on. So explaining them kind of gives you a better explanation of how essentially the game is now played. And I'll start with the tanks. With the Junk Queen, she's way more aggressive, right? She doesn't have any shields, but she has a lot of things to either mitigate, not so much mitigate damage, but to mitigate her own damage, to help herself, help her team a little bit, and to go in and be in the front line. And just being able to know when to push and know when not to push with her is very detrimental, because if you go by yourself, you're going to lose. You may be this character that can 1v1 anybody on the map. However, you can't take on the team, so you still have to rely on your teammates for that kind of stuff. And that's kind of how all the tanks fared, which is why tanks like D.Va, who were already aggressive, they felt no need to change up, but giving Reinhardt an extra throw his extra projectile fireball is very befitting and fits in well. And the same with the DPS. Again, I need to look this up on how to pronounce it. Sojourn is the new soldier, Soldier 2.0, the third super soldier. Well, I guess she's more of like a cyberpunk type character, but she is really cool, very very strong, but she has no self-healing abilities, which most of the heroes don't, and she has a variety of ways of taking out enemies, but also a quick way of killing off smaller targets, picking off the healers in the back, or giving her some versatility, which is something that every DPS has in its own right. So I think that she kind of stayed, represents the DPS people, and it really just kind of stayed the same for them. But there was the healers, Kiriko. She's built more like Baptiste or even Zenyatta, where you can heal and attack at the same time, and really just a big controlling the map, knowing when to ult at the right time, when to support the team, when to access the team. And support's always a tough role to play. The unsung heroes of it all, but I think Kiriko is a good step in moving into that more aggressive version of being a support. So I think the heroes are good. The reworks for a lot of them, like McCree having a sticky grenade, makes him a lot more aggressive, and kind of drops the skill for McCree in a certain way. And I don't want to go over every hero's change, but it's weird at first, especially if you played so much Overwatch, and so it's one of those things where I was like, I don't know, but I quickly it felt good, it felt nice, and ended up working out in the long run, and I ended up really enjoying it. So I did have, like I said before, I played Overwatch on like PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, so I did have an opportunity to do some crossplay with my friends. which works really well. The thing about crossplay that you probably need to be aware of is that there's two different pools. So there's a console pool and then there's the PC pool, and you can play with your friends. You know, if you PS5 or PlayStation and Xbox, they can play together no problem. I did that. I was on my PS5. My friend was on his Xbox Series X, and we had no issues, and we were able to get it working. There's a bit of a weird way of adding BattleNet friends. It doesn't work. I'm sure that's just something that's broken right now, among a bunch of other things that have been messed up for people on launch, which we'll go over here in a second. But really, a workaround that I've found is I just make my own custom lobby and wait for my buddy to join in, and then invite him to the group, and then it automatically adds us as friends on BattleNet. I don't know. That's the workaround I've been using, and it's been working pretty well. But if you want to play PC with console, that's where things get a little tricky, because any console player that plays with PC loses aim assist. Now, whether your opinions on aim assists are what they are, it is really tough for console players to not have aim assist. So you can't play competitive with console and PC. So if your buddy's on console and you're on PC, you guys can't play competitive together, which can be a downer for people, you know, like myself. But the game is free, so if you do happen to have a console, you can hop on there and try to decide which you want to play on. Other than that, just know that if you're if you're a console player and you're trying to play with your buddies that are on PC, then you will not have aim assist. Good luck with that. Have fun with that. Take with it what you will. I think the biggest thing that I enjoyed the most out of the game had to have been the pinging system. This is something that I think was very much needed. I'm in all for all shooters, all multiplayer games just need to have a pinging system from now on. Coming from a introverted person like myself who doesn't really like to comms with people and is forced to on Valorant, I appreciate how far they went with the ping. So just like if you've played Overwatch before, you know, you pull up, there's like an emote wheel, like a whole wheel of things that you can do, but now they have a ping wheel. So you have everything from we're going to defend this site to I'm going in to attack to there's an enemy here and so much more. There's even a countdown feature, which I love, which I've used a couple of times, where it just counts down from 3, 2, 1, boom, something's about to happen, right? So you can ping your ult's ready and then boom, ping 3, 2, 1. And a lot of people get the picture. There's what's really cool is a quick ping. If you hit an enemy with it, it automatically like marks the enemy, and as long as they're within line of sight of you, the ping will actually follow the enemy until they break line of sight, and then the ping will stop where they were last seen for you. And so be aggressive with those pings. It's something I picked up from League of Legends and things like that. It's okay to be aggressive with those pings, and it's changed phenomenally how I've played with other people. I've been able to communicate with my teammates by simply pinging some things, and there's been a lot of back and forth that's been very great, very good. So I think the pinging is the best part of the game, and I love it, and it works really well. But other than that, I'm pretty sure we covered everything. I'm just gonna go over my list real quick. Where tanks, at first I thought the time to kill was higher, but I think it's just about the same. I think like healers are just better. So I think that's something we could talk about a little more. I didn't touch on is that so tanks have a lot more mitigations from damage. Having one tank, and we're talking about the meta and playing with 5 people. Having one tank means you're kind of almost like the leader in a sense, but you're kind of just making sure the team. You have a lot more responsibility than before. Whereas where there was 2 tanks and you can kind of get away with doing some things or acting like a DPS, you can't really do that as much. You really got to play objective. You really got to be able to know when to push, know when not to push. Or if you're going to go all in, you have to make sure you are not immediately dying. Because I know. The new Doomfist, the way that he's worked out, he's a tank, and a lot of Doomfist players that I've seen with a lot of success have still jumped into the enemy backline, done what they can, and jump out. And playing a long range healer like Kiriko or even Ana supports that Doomfist largely, and even Zenyatta. So like having basically a sniper healer with him, and just knowing when to combo the characters, what characters work really well with each other, and people's play styles can help you out a lot. Healers, all the healers have that mercy passive where they just heal themselves if they're not in combat, or I think they're just, as long as they haven't taken damage over an X amount of time, they just begin to heal themselves, as I should say that more correctly. And DPS has stayed the same, so everyone's going to play DPS, so those queue times are going to be a little bit longer, so enjoy them while they're short now. But other than that, the game itself does feel like Overwatch 1. So if you're looking for something completely groundbreaking and different, and no, the game still feels the same, and I think that's good, right? You want it to feel like the old game, but the new meta, the new changes, the new passives, the new way of playing is completely different, and I think it fits the game phenomenally. And it does overall. The way that you play the game is differently. Even though the game feels the same, the game acts the same. The way that you play is not at all the same, and honestly, refreshing, really refreshing, to say the least. So, if I were to give this an arbitrary score of some sort, I would have to say like 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. Yeah, solid. Above average. Poor launch. I'm getting so sick of these large AAA games, these big corporate just having these poor launches. Queue times, I'm okay with queue times. Like, queue times are a thing that happen, loading into games. I mean, I guess queue times probably shouldn't be a problem. Like, it's not like you wait in queue for like Call of Duty and stuff like that, but I don't know, maybe it's because I play World of Warcraft and stuff of that nature. But having trouble adding people not being able to get into the game at launch, people not being able to people being in queue and then the queue breaking, and just having to update it little days after, and people still having issues. I personally didn't have much of issue my first time trying to get into the game. It took me about an hour. There's like 40,000 people in queue, and I had just downloaded the game. So in total, downloaded the game and waiting for the queue was roughly about an hour. And I streamed that day. You can go check out that stream on twitch.tv/digitalhero101 or on YouTube in the stream playlist down below. You can go check that out, where I streamed it the day of. But other than that, I haven't had that many problems getting in. I don't know. I've just made sure my client never really went to sleep or anything like that. And now the queues are better. Now the stuff is better. But launch was pretty rough, and there's still things that I feel like can be a little fixed with like the Battle.net accounts. Other than that, game's great. Game's fun. Go check it out. It's free. Tell me your thoughts. Until next time, play nice.